Hello. If it's good enough for farmers, it's good enough for me. And I've got a garden full of this stuff. I'm not talking about this, but we'll get to this. We're talking about soil. Just like our farmers, in the autumn and winter, when the crops have been harvested, I rest the soil and feed it. You've seen my smallest compost pile in the world videos, where I refill my buckets with the soil that I've just used and then cap it off with some chop and drop, an organic chop and drop of seaweed and leaves. Farmers, well, they'll use manure. I use the organic chop and drop, so it's good to go again in spring. Just let it sit through winter, autumn, winter, nothing to do. There's a problem. Soil in a bucket or a bag is heavy to lift and may restrict the size of the container you can handle. Now I've got upwards of 20 buckets, and when I have them dotted around the garden and the wind blows and vegetables are in danger of actually getting blown out of the buckets, I move them, and I move them next to the property, so I'm moving 20 buckets. And then when the wind subsides, I move the buckets back, so I'm moving 20 buckets again. And whilst individually they're not that heavy, moving 20 buckets, yeah, it's a job, isn't it? It's a job, and so ideally I'd like those buckets to be a bit lighter. I like growing in soil, it's natural, and I get some good results, but it's heavy, and soil in buckets or bags can easily run dry. But I have a plan. This is part of that plan. I'm going to make up a mix of soil and coir for buckets and bags that will be lighter to lift and less likely to dry out. Does that sound a plan? Well, it's my plan. Now I know there's lots of gardeners out there who prefer to use peat. Peat's been around a long time, much longer than coir in respect of being used in the garden. But no, there are a number of reasons why I don't want to use peat. I'll give you a few of them now. You probably know this, but let's run through it anyway. Peat takes about 1,000 years to make, so it's not sustainable. If we dig it all up and it's all gone, it's going to take another 1,000 years to replace. And the way we dig it up with mechanical diggers and the amount we use, it isn't going to take long before we've used it all up, so it's not sustainable. It has an acidic pH and has few nutrients. Now the fact it hasn't got nutrients isn't a problem. We can add some, and the fact it's an acidic pH, well, we can adjust that if we want to with some lime, or we can leave it as it is if it suits the vegetables we're growing. It soaks up and holds water. Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Yeah, it'll retain water. Well, it's good for us, but it's also good because it helps to prevent flooding by holding back heavy rain and slowly releasing it. So if you live in a town or a village that's below a peat bog, you don't want that peat bog dug up. Any rain will just shoot straight off the fell side, off the hillside, and your village is flooded, your town's flooded. You're much better leaving that peat where it is. It's part of the biodiverse landscape that supports lots of plant life and wildlife. I mean, peat is cut under licence and harvested on an industrial scale. Currently, there is a governmental push to use less peat in gardening products. Probably for the reasons I've just given you, that I don't want to use it. Okay, let's talk about coir. Coir is a byproduct of the coconut industry. It takes nature just a few years to make it, so it's sustainable. There's a neutral pH, and like peat has few nutrients, but like peat we can add something to it if we want to. It soaks up and holds water. That's good, isn't it? That's good. Sometimes referred to as coir peat, it's more eco-friendly than peat. This is a 65 70 litre block of coir. It's 14.5 pounds in weight. Check this out. We can weigh up to 11 pound. So when you get to the top, we're on 11 pound. And then every pound after that, we add that to that 11. That sound okay? Right, this might be a bit of a balancing act. Are you ready? No, it wants to come back a bit. That's it, it's square. Where are we at? Wow! Wow, did you see that pointer go around? I didn't, I was on the other side of this this block. Okay, so that's 11, 12, 13, 14 and a half. 14.5 pound. Wow. And the only waste we're going to have with this, by the way, is this plastic that it's wrapped in. It's a bit like cling film. That's all there is. There's probably only going to be a handful of this stuff as waste, as opposed to with your peat, you'll have a bag to dispose of. And if you're buying the stuff every year you'll have a bag to dispose of. Anyway, that's a by the by. Okay. And it measures 12 inches by 12 inches by 4.5 inches. It came from Sri Lanka. When I add water to it, it should expand to fill 7 of my 10 litre water buckets. I have my doubts, but hey, let's find out. Let's find out. There isn't much else going on in the garden. It's raining outside. Let's set ourselves up and let's pop this block in some water, expand it, and then we'll pop it into some of those 10 litre buckets and see if we can fill 7 of them. My guess would be probably 6 at most. But hey, let's do it. Are you up for that? Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I'll come. Okay, job done. Let's see what we've got here. Were you counting those buckets? Maybe not. Right, well, let's have a look at them. Let's see if we can get them all in shot. That's it then. What have we got? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and that's probably half a bucket. 55 litres from that 65, 70 litre block. Okay, what I'm going to do now is, I've watched a number of videos on people growing in coir. Most of them seem to be people growing wacky backy. There doesn't seem to be many people growing vegetables in this stuff, or at least if there is, I couldn't find the videos. But the people who have grown the wacky backy talk about washing the coir, making sure there's nothing in there that's going to harm their valuable crop. And so they wash it quite a bit, and then there's additives of course, but I'm not going to do that. But I am going to wash it because I don't know what might be in coir that vegetables won't like. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand these outdoors for a few days, and as we like to do here at Homegrown Veg, we're going to let the rain take the strain. And as it's raining now, what I'm going to do, see them seagulls. As it's raining now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick cup of tea, then I'll whip these outdoors and let the rain take the strain.